Here's a shocking reality that should make every American pause. When citizens exercise their constitutional right to protest, some political leaders would rather dismiss their voices as fake than acknowledge genuine dissent. Donald Trump and his MAGA supporters have developed a troubling pattern of discrediting opposition movements by claiming demonstrators are simply hired actors playing a role. This isn't just political spin. It's a dangerous erosion of democratic principles that deserves serious scrutiny. Trump's tendency to inflate his political achievements while simultaneously diminishing his opposition has reached new heights following his 2024 electoral victory. Despite winning by a razor-thin margin of approximately 1.5% of the popular vote, he consistently characterizes this narrow win as an overwhelming mandate from the American people. But here's where it gets controversial. This same leader who exaggerates his own support systematically questions the authenticity of anyone who dares to oppose him. The pattern is unmistakable and deeply concerning. When protests erupted in Los Angeles several months ago, Trump immediately labeled the participants as paid insurrectionists, professional agitators, and paid troublemakers. This wasn't an isolated incident. It's become his standard playbook for handling dissent. Let's trace this troubling timeline. Back in 2016, when his initial presidential campaign sparked widespread demonstrations, Trump couldn't fathom that ordinary Americans might genuinely oppose his candidacy. Instead of acknowledging legitimate political disagreement, he dismissed protesters as paid agitators. After securing the presidency that year, continued activism met the same response. Paid protesters, he declared in November 2016. Even after his inauguration, when demonstrations persisted, Trump maintained his narrative that these Americans should be ignored because they were allegedly compensated for their participation. And this is the part most people miss. This rhetoric isn't uniquely American. MSNBC's Steve Bannon, a producer for The Rachel Maddow Show, draws a chilling parallel between Trump's dismissive language and the tactics employed by Russian President Vladimir Putin. When authoritarian leaders can't handle genuine opposition, they often resort to claiming it's manufactured or inauthentic. Bannon's analysis reveals the deeper implications of this strategy. For Trump and many within his political circle, the concept of authentic American disagreement seems incomprehensible. They've created a worldview where supporters are automatically legitimate, while opponents must be explained away through conspiracy theories involving corrupt schemes and illicit payments. This mindset creates a dangerous precedent that extends far beyond protest movements. The same logic that dismisses paid protesters naturally evolves into election denialism. If Americans who support Trump are inherently real and authentic, then those who disagree must somehow be fake, purchased, or manipulated. It's a worldview that fundamentally undermines the democratic principle that citizens can hold genuine, diverse political opinions. But here's the uncomfortable truth that challenges this entire narrative. Americans taking to the streets to express dissatisfaction with their government don't require financial compensation. Their anger, frustration, and calls for change stem from sincere political convictions, not payroll records. The recent nationwide Fight the Trump Takeover protests, including demonstrations against Republican redistricting efforts in Texas, exemplify this authentic grassroots opposition. When citizens like Amy Boyd react passionately at state capitol protests, they're exercising fundamental democratic rights that shouldn't be dismissed as theatrical performances. This raises critical questions about the state of American political discourse. Should elected officials acknowledge and engage with legitimate opposition, even when it's uncomfortable? Or is it acceptable to dismiss entire movements by questioning their authenticity without evidence? The implications extend beyond Trump himself. When political leaders normalize the practice of dismissing opposition as fake or purchased, they're essentially arguing that dissent itself is inherently suspicious. This perspective threatens the foundational democratic principle that citizens have the right to peacefully express disagreement with their government. Consider the broader context. In a healthy democracy, political leaders should expect and even welcome constructive opposition. Protests, demonstrations, and public dissent serve as vital checks on governmental power. When these activities are systematically discredited as inauthentic, it suggests a fundamental misunderstanding of democratic governance. The paid protester narrative also reveals something troubling about how some politicians view their fellow Americans. It suggests an inability to comprehend that citizens might hold genuine political convictions that differ from their own. This perspective treats political opposition not as legitimate disagreement, but as evidence of manipulation or corruption. Here's what makes this particularly controversial. By consistently labeling opposition as fake, political leaders create an environment where genuine civic engagement becomes suspect. This rhetoric doesn't just dismiss current protesters. It potentially discourages future political participation by suggesting that dissent will be automatically delegitimized. The timing of these claims also matters significantly. When protests occur during politically sensitive moments, the paid protester narrative serves as a convenient way to avoid engaging with the substantive concerns being raised. Rather than addressing the issues motivating demonstrations, leaders can simply question whether the demonstrators are sincere. Steve Bannon's analysis ultimately concludes with a simple but powerful observation. Americans who express dissatisfaction through peaceful protest don't need financial incentives because their outrage is genuine. This reality should be self-evident in a democratic society, yet it apparently requires explicit statement in our current political climate. So here's the question that should spark serious debate. In an era where political opposition is routinely dismissed as inauthentic, how do we preserve the democratic principle that citizens have the right to genuine disagreement with their government? And more provocatively, if we accept that opposing voices can be dismissed without evidence simply because they're inconvenient, what does that say about our commitment to democratic values? What do you think? Are we witnessing a dangerous erosion of respect for legitimate political opposition? Or are concerns about manufactured dissent sometimes justified? The answer to this question may determine whether American democracy can maintain its foundational principle that all citizens, supporters and opponents alike, deserve to have their voices heard and respected.